Hello, I'm live. This is Gina from Gina Dallison Coaching, and I don't usually do live sessions because it's a little bit late here, but here I am today. So welcome everybody, and today I'm going to be talking about resilience and how to keep going when life gives you a bit of a curveball. So I don't know if you heard what happened to me this week. If you're on Facebook, then you would have done because I've shared my story quite a lot. So for those of you who don't know, I have multiple sclerosis. I'm living with multiple sclerosis. I'm getting very much more careful about the language that I use. We don't want to own our condition. This is just something that we're living with at the moment. So I'm living with multiple sclerosis at the moment, and something on my screen, sorry. And that is meaning that my walking is quite challenged at the moment. My balance is off, and I've got a very active bladder, shall we say. And I was still driving a car. I've got an automatic car, and I was driving it. But I'd had a couple of near misses, if I'm honest, where I need an adjusted car, really. I need an adapted car to have all the controls at the wheel as opposed to at the feet, because I can't really feel my feet properly. And when they're tired, then the signals don't work as well. And that's what happened on Tuesday. So I went rowing on Tuesday. I a fairly new member of the Stratford-upon-Avon assisted or adapted rowing club, and they've got an amazing team of people, an amazing group of rowers that are all passionate about getting on the water, and what the coaches do and the volunteers do is they help adapt the boats for anybody, dependent on what their issue is or problem is. So you can get rowing even if your legs don't work properly, or you're totally not able to use your legs at all. And I suppose if you came and you didn't have any legs, they'd find a way of adapting you and getting you sitting in safely. So it's a really lovely environment, and I've really enjoyed it, and getting out on the water, and I'm getting to know it, and getting to I even turned the boat around sort of on my own on Tuesday. So, and that you think is easy, and it's harder than you think, because you've got to turn one oar one way and then turn the other one at the other. And yeah, it's a little bit like patting your head and rubbing your belly at the same time, one of those sort of movements. But these type of things are really good when you've got a neurological condition, because it helps keep your mind, all the connections keep going. So the more times that we can learn new skills and keep up the growth of neurons, then the better that is for us, and the more myelin it produces, apparently. So definitely worthwhile doing anyway. So I'd been on the water for about nearly an hour. We'd rowed backwards and forwards along our little space a couple of times, and my legs were quite tired. And I got out the boat, I went to the loo, and then I got in my car. And my car was facing the wall, and it was right over next to the boat. So I'd have to reverse out a little bit so I'd avoid the boats coming in this way, the boats that were parked. I did that, and I've got an automatic car. And with an automatic car, if you just take your foot off the brake, the car will move a little bit. However, I was on a gravel car park, and the wheel got stuck, so I had to put my foot on the accelerator. And when I got it on the accelerator, I couldn't get it off. It just sort of got stuck on there and just pressed harder and harder down. I couldn't affect it. The next thing I know, I'm going backwards very fast, and then just went straight down into the water. And I apparently there were people. Yeah, it was It was a bit mental. So the next thing I know, I'm in the water. I'm thinking, oh, this isn't good. This isn't good. I'm recognising there's a lot of people watching. If anyone ever knows Stratford upon Avon, it's a busy town, and we were right in the main stretch of the river where there's a bridge going across. A whole load of people on the bridge. A whole load of people the side of the river cleaning. There's benches there and swans and ducks to feed and all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of people milling about. So I must have looked a bit of a sight. Anyway, we get to the middle of the river and then it stops and I start sinking and the water's coming up. I undo the windscreens. They've got electric windows to shout to the guys because I didn't know what to do. And then I couldn't open the door. And apparently, I didn't know this at the time, but apparently what you should do if you can't get out of the car is wait until the car goes all the way down into water. And when the car's full with water, you'd obviously have to hold your breath and really keep calm. Then you're able to open the door. But fortunately, I didn't have to do that. I climbed out the window. So I climbed out the window and long story short, I managed to, with the help of one of the guys who'd come in to help me and a rope thrown from the side, I got out of the water and got out the sides and I was okay. I was lucky, really. And I wasn't hurt at all. You know, it seemed that crashing into the water was a lot safer than crashing into a wall, a tree, or even a person. So I'm taking this as a bit of a gift, even though giving up driving is not something that anybody wants to jump at, really, is it? And I think it's one of those things, if you've had a few near misses, if you're, you know, thinking that you're getting a bit nervous and driving, I was certainly getting a bit nervous, but I didn't want to curtail my independence. You know, I like going places. I go to lots of meetings and meeting people, and even just getting the shopping in is it's handy to have a car. Without it, it's a lot more difficult. But this took the decision away from me. The universe has decided, actually, at the moment, not a car, not a good idea. So I haven't got one. I am in the process of putting through a PIP application, as another one. Anybody who lives in the UK and who lives with a disability will understand about PIP. And just let me see a second. PIP stands for Personal Independence Payment, and it is a payment from the government for people who are living with challenges that normal people, if you like, don't live with. So if you're successful with getting it, you get a payment every month to help you with things like anything that you need to pay for. That'll be different. So maybe some therapies, maybe some massages, maybe some gym membership, whatever you want to spend it on is completely up to you. They don't prescribe what you have to spend it on. And they have a system that you go through, which is really not very, it doesn't help you get in a nice healing place. So when I've been working on healing of myself, a lot of it is focusing on my mindset, believing that it's possible. If I can believe that it's possible to heal myself, then it is. If I believe that it's not possible, then it isn't. That's that quote by Henry Ford. If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So I want to be believing that I can heal myself, which, of course, if you speak to any doctors, they don't really want to have those types of conversations. They don't have any conversations about what can we do to help ourselves. So that's the work that I'm doing. What can we do to help ourselves? And there's loads of things we can do to help ourselves. If you haven't seen my self audit, come and speak to me. and grab a copy of the self-audit, because that will give you a very clear idea of what you can do to help yourself. And what was I saying? It's gone already. I'm a little bit tired. That's probably why I don't do live ones, because I don't feel as energized as I could. So my apologies. But I should drink my tea and we should continue, because it is important to get your mindset in a good place. So what happened when I crashed my car into the river, effectively, apart from doing a incredible story? I'm on the front page of the Stratford Herald. Anybody wants to look me up and go and have a look, if you want to look on Facebook, I've got a detailed description of what went on. It's a bit crazy. But what I was really proud of was my ability to not get caught up in the drama of it, to see the opportunity, to see the blessing, to recognize how lucky I was. I had such amazing people around me. People came out from all over the place. We had, there seems to be loads of people from the rowing club appeared. The police were there. The fire brigade were there. The Swan Protection people there. The River Trust were there. There was just lots and lots of people. Then we got the person from the Stratford Herald. Then there was the Stratford Observer as well. So I got interviewed. So that was all very exciting, really. And my poor car didn't really live to tell the tale, but I did, and nobody else got hurt. So that is definitely something to celebrate. And it's given me a quite dramatic, but nonetheless gentle, big nudge that I need to make some changes. And at this point in time, driving a car is not the best way of using my energy. And actually, I have felt a lot more energized since it's just not there, because now I can't get in the car. I was always a little bit nervous. I've been heavy on the brakes for a long while, but so feeling blessed, really, that no bad damage was done. And hopefully, if I can get the higher level of PIP, I can get a mobility car, which then allows it to have all the adaptations. So it's all on the steering wheel, and I won't have to worry about my legs. So that will be really good. But I was thinking back to my one of my first inroads into entrepreneurship. I had a little go at being a childminder for a year or so when the kids were little. That was probably my first step into being an entrepreneur. And then it was probably around, 7-8 years ago, I just had enough at the workplace I was in. I said, that's it. I've got to go and do something myself. What can I do? I don't know. So I thought I'd be a home help. I'm good with people. I like being out and about in the community. I like helping people. That's what I'll do. I was a lot more able-bodied then, but even then I didn't really think it through very well. But I started off by printing out a whole load of leaflets. I called it Need a Gina. If you've got a problem or you've got something that you need help with, you need some ironing doing, you need house cleaning, you need dog walking, you need help in packing boxes, whatever it is, you need a Gina. So when I first put that out as my first business page on Facebook, I was so nervous just pressing that button and making it happen. And then I was all excited. I created myself some leaflets. I sent them off to the printers. I got them printed. Then I needed to post them. Now, anybody who's ever posted leaflets or papers will know that there's more to it actually than meets the eye, because a lot of these letterboxes are really not very finger friendly. And the leaflets I had weren't particularly thick paper. They were only quite thin paper. So I had to sort of scrunch them up without scrunching them up too much and try and poke them through the letterbox. Now, what I learned from that little escapade is that you're not meant to actually poke your fingers through the letterbox for obvious reasons. So I had posted about 20 leaflets, I think, from one door to the next on the way back from walking my dog. And then I was putting a leaflet through the door, didn't hear anything, no sign of anything. And then this dog came out of nowhere and literally grabbed my finger. And I pulled it out quick, with covered in blood and just feeling. I rang the doorbell, but there was nobody there. So I took myself off home, feeling very, very sorry for myself. Took myself to bed and binge watched, I think, whatever was on Netflix at the time. I think it was some oldie fashionedy Robin Hoodie type thing. But that sort of knocked me for six, probably for about 3 or 4 days, if I'm honest. I mean, it was quite traumatic. It was horrible. Yeah, it wasn't good. I ended up Neutrogena. I had a couple of little jobs, but it sort of stopped when I was cleaning somebody's house for them, and I had a bit of a relapse and realised that actually I needed Gina, let alone helping other people out. So that was my first little venture, which sort of stopped. And then when I first started this business, I remember being able to spend days upon days in overwhelm, where I just get to the point of, oh my God, I've got so much that I could be doing. I don't know where to start. It's all too much. I need to make money and I just can't make money and it's all too hard. All this stuff will go round and round and round. And I'd just sit there like surrounded by mess, just feeling miserable and not knowing what to do. And I must say that doesn't happen anymore. I notice when the overwhelm comes on and I can deal with it now. I've developed a stronger mindset and a self-awareness with myself. So I recognize when overwhelm's coming in and I deal with it. And how do I deal with it? There's a couple of things that I do. One is just meditate. One is just to get quiet. Sit or lie. I like to lie when I meditate. Sometimes I doze off. I don't think that's a bad thing. If you need to sleep, you need to sleep. But just sit quietly. Breathe through. Just allow your breaths to fill up your lungs, to fill up your body. Yogic breaths. Do yourself some nice big deep breaths. Imagine the energy from the ground coming up and really pulling you in and grounding you and making you nice and safe. And then just notice what thoughts come up and just allow them to be there, allow them to go. And what I certainly tend to notice is there's a lot of clutter to start with, a lot of thought, and then that calms down a little bit. And then there's other thoughts, maybe things that you've forgotten, some things that I haven't done, something that I started and didn't finish. Just allow the thoughts to be. And if you've got a notebook next to you, you can write any things down. So if you need to remember anything, then write them down. And after you've had some quiet space to allow your mind and brain to settle, do a little brain dump. Or you can do it the other way around. Do the brain dump first. So what is it that you think you need to be doing? What is it that you could be doing? That's the thing. It's like there's lots of things we could be doing. And then look at them. And sometimes just by writing them down, you'll realize actually that doesn't need to be done yet. That doesn't need to be done yet. Oh, right, I did that yesterday. Oh, look, that's going to take me 5 minutes. It's not quite as bad as you think. Or if it is worse than you think and you're like, oh my God, where am I going to get this done? You're just going to then have to be really real. And in reality, can you get all that's on your to-do list done today? Probably not. Probably not. So what can you do? Because if you're not going to get it all done, what's the most important thing? What's the most important thing for you to do right now? And just get the one thing done. Because as soon as you start moving into action, the overwhelm goes away. And the problem with not being in action is that you're just sitting in, it's like, I don't know if you've ever gone into, well, I'm sure you would have done, gone into your kitchen and it's an absolute pigsty and you just don't know where to start. So you just start somewhere. And before you know it, you've cleaned all the sides, you've washed up all the dishes, you wiped everything down, and actually the kitchen looks great. So actually, I quite like doing the washing up. I used to do that as my go-to when I felt overwhelmed, because it was something I didn't have to think about too much. It was satisfying that it got cleaned up and everything was tidy, and it felt like I was doing something. So it's that idea of doing something. So keep a list of things that you could be doing. If you've got a lot on your plate and juggling a lot of projects, then just keep a list. Now, I say that would be great advice. I tend to keep lists all over the place. So I've got lists. I'm looking over here because there's my list at the moment on scrappy bits of paper. I use Google Notes. I use Asana. I think it would probably be better if they were in one place, if I'm honest, but I don't seem to be able to do that. So now I'm being more gentle with myself and believing that I will know the right things to do. I am learning how to trust my own intuition a lot better and trust my own journey. And I don't have to have everything absolutely perfect and every single thing remembered, because we live in times where people do forget things, and that's okay as well. We're allowed to forget things every now and again. Absolutely. So how can you develop that resilience? So on Tuesday, when I had that thing, I mean, I had loads of, I have milked the story a little bit, if I'm honest, but I've had loads of lovely messages and people going, oh my God, that must have been so scary. Are you okay? You know, really sort of reaching out and expressing concern. And when the lady from the Stratford Herald interviewed me, she said, you know, were you scared for your life? And I wasn't really at any point. There was never a point in the whole incident where I thought, I'm not going to get out of this. That didn't occur to me at all. And I like the idea that the universe only delivers to you what you've got the resources and capabilities to deal with. And I did have, you know, I am quite a strong swimmer. I've done my capsize training recently, although obviously we weren't learning to capsize out of a car, but I like wild swimming. So I've been, you know, I'm quite used to being in cold water. So it wasn't as bad as what it could be. And I did feel actually it was, yeah, not something that I would want to happen. I certainly didn't choose to happen, but I felt like I was making the most out of the situation, having fun with it. So everyone was great. As soon as they discovered I was okay, then the jokes started coming in, and then that just lightened the load as well, and people could have a bit of a laugh, because it was quite crazy. So I thought I'd share some of how I've done that over the last sort of 4 or 5 years, really, how I've improved my emotional health as well as my mental health, and I'm more productive. I'm getting a lot more stuff done. I'm moving forward in my business. Things are actually happening. It's taken me a long while. People say that, you know, when you first start a business, it takes about 5 years. Well, it's taken me longer. It's taken me longer than that, and I still feel I'm in the early stages of it. But it does start feel that things are coming into place. I'm learning, and I'm getting some sales calls. I'm getting some people interested. I'm really now clear on what I'm offering, and I really think that I can help people, especially people who are looking outside of what our doctors are offering us. So not necessarily without any medication at all, although that's my choice, but to move away from that. And I'm connecting with more and more people who not only believe that it's possible to heal yourself, but are shining examples that it is. I am not a shining example at the moment. I'm getting a bit warm, drank my tea. Obviously, I'm still living with the symptoms of MS, but I do believe that it's possible. And I am talking to more and more and connecting with more and more people. Today, I connected with a lady who did an interview with a guy called John Coleman. You want to look him up, and he's living symptom free now after being diagnosed with quite a strong version, I don't know if that's the right word, but strong version of Parkinson's, where he was really quite ill, shaky and not able to move properly. And now he's symptom free because he changed his diet. He went through a great self-awareness exercise, similar, I guess, to my self-audit, but probably not quite as in-depth as that. But what he focused on was nutrition, and he actually developed and trained to be a naturopath as well. So he does a lot of stuff on food and herbal remedies and that type of thing, but is living symptom-free from Parkinson's. And he explains that he's from Australia. And he explains that he tried to share, what he'd learned with doctors, not interested, with the big charities, not interested. And that's the same story as Matt Embry was told with regarding the charities as well. That unfortunately, a lot of our big charities are funded by the big pharma. So therefore, it's not in their interest to know that people can heal themselves through changing their diet and lifestyle and mindset and relieving themselves of old traumas and learning about themselves, really. That's what illness can do for you if you decide to unwrap the gift of it. Here we are with the unwrapping the gift of illness. I'm probably not going to talk for an hour today because I am quite tired. But I just wanted to share with you that that it's possible to change how you feel about things. So when something happens that's unexpected and unwanted, it doesn't have to rock your world. It doesn't have to send you to bed for a week binge watching telly because you don't want to face the real world. It doesn't have to stop you going where you're going. And that's something else that's come up for me recently as well, that idea of what keeps you going when life gets hard. And what I mean when life gets hard, if you've got any sort of illness or living with pain or disability, suddenly, or not suddenly, but now, things that once was easy for you and you didn't have to think about, we took for granted, like walking and running and skipping and cycling, is no longer something that we can do with ease. So you have to think about things a lot more carefully. But what that does, it's Isaac Harvey did a great post in LinkedIn today, and he is a disability advocate, but he talked about it being differently abled rather than disabled, because we do things differently. It's a bit like the neurodivergent community that think differently, but it doesn't mean to say that's a bad thing. And in fact, quite the opposite. Because the fact that it's, well, now, even now, with regarding to not having a car, I am finding myself forward thinking a lot more. Okay, if I want to get from A to B, who can I find in my network to give me a hand? But I don't want to take the pee out of people and run around after my beck and call. So I want to make it as efficient as possible. So if I can get one person to take me, maybe somebody's coming back that way. So I'm thinking of, now I'm a logistical planner of how to get Gina about on my various different exploits and things that I want to do. So do not let something like this that could stop you in your tracks. Don't let it stop it in your tracks. When a door closes, and with regarding to mine, the door is, my ability to drive at the moment is closed. So I could get upset about that. I could cry, I could get worried, I could shout that it's not fair that I'm not able to get out and do what I want to do. Or I could look about and just think, actually, there's opportunities here. It is a relief not having to drive. It really is. I never really liked driving, even before the MS. So now the MS is just made it even less pleasurable, really. The world is a safer place without me in the on the roads, certainly at the moment anyway. So that's good. And then people, I have a great network around here, and I'm not afraid to ask people for lifts. And most people, if they're able to, they'll say yes. And then we get to have great conversations in cars, because when there's two of you sitting in a car, you talk to each other. So I'm having some great conversations with people by getting lifts. And we're saving a little bit of the planet because there's not quite as much petrol fumes going into the air. That's one less car off the road. So this is about seeing all the positives that have come out of one situation. And it is forcing me again to look at what is really important to me. I've done a lot of work on values as well, which is another good thing to do if you want to get yourself motivated and move yourself forward. Discovering what your values are, and that also they really help you make decisions. So knowing what's important to you in your life and what you value helps you make decisions. And one of my biggest values is freedom. And then not having a car obviously curtails some of that freedom. If I allow it, because freedom really is in here, isn't it? I can tell myself I'm trapped, or I can tell myself I've got the freedom of not having to drive, of getting a taxi if I need to, of working out maybe how I can use the bus, although I'm not feeling that very well at the moment. The bus stop's a bit far. But and enjoying the freedom of meeting new people and meeting and getting to know people better as you drive around in their cars. So the way we think about things definitely has an impact on how we feel about them. So if you're thinking something is bad, then it is. So how can you reframe that bad thing? What can you pull out of it? What are the lessons? Because I believe that everything in life is either to bring us joy or to teach us something. And maybe it's a bit of both. And if we can find joy in the lessons and actually look forward to learning the lessons, then life becomes a lot more fun. And when things happen that are unexpected, it's not immediately a bad thing. It's just a thing that's made you readjust, made you think. So my situation on Tuesday, it's like, whoa, okay, that was quite a big thing, but it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. It was just a thing that I'm still processing, if I'm honest, which is probably why I'm talking about it a lot. So I'm going to end with a nice little meditation just to finish off, and it's 9:30, 25 to 10 over here in the UK. But just to recap on what we've talked about today, some of my stories around my entrepreneurial journey, but also about how to deal with overwhelm when that comes in. That idea where there's so much coming in, you've got so much on your plate and you can't fit it all on. It's all falling off all over the place. You're spinning too many plates and they started crashing around all over the place. Just stop. You can do a couple of things. You can either brainstorm, write down everything you think you need to do, and then just take some time to calm your mind and notice what thoughts are coming up and breathe deeply and allow your body to know that in this moment, it is okay. Or you can do the breathing first and then do the brain dumping exercise, whichever. And then just decide on one thing that you're going to do right now and just do it. Because once you move into action, the overwhelm goes away. It's a bit like when you face your fear, you stop worrying about it. When you actually, face your fear head on. So what I was noticing on Tuesday morning was I was feeling off. So I did some tapping, I did some EFT around it. And what came up for me was that I was really nervous and unsure about how to transition from being somebody who drove really to somebody maybe that didn't, and what that would look like. And then there it was, it happened. And when it happens, you just deal with it, because we are resilient and we have gone through life experiences and we are resourceful and we are clever and creative and we can solve problems and we can look for the bright side in things and we can do and be anything that we want to be. We've just got to decide who we're going to be and how we're going to show up in the world. So I think I've forgotten where I was now. So yes. Well, overwhelm and knowing that we can be and do whatever we want. And then that resilience and that motivation to keep going. And that is by knowing where you're going and what you're after, what is important to you, getting to know your values, getting to know what is important to you, what you want in life. And when you've got a vision, got my vision boards behind me, look, yeah, that way, which gives you an idea of what you want. So every day you can think, right, okay, that's another step forward. Even though sometimes you might think you're doing 2 steps back and 1 step forward, you're still going forward. And recognize all the times when things are going right. Take more time to notice the right stuff rather than things that didn't quite go the way you wanted it. Find the wins as opposed to the losses and look for them. Sometimes it's hard to find them, but they will be there. The more you see them, the more wins you'll get to see. It's like when you get a new car and it's a little yellow Mini and all of a sudden you see yellow Minis all over the place because you notice them more. If you start noticing the good stuff and what you're winning at, as opposed to noticing the bad stuff and what seems to be going wrong, then you just notice more and more of the good stuff because there'll be more good stuff showing itself to you. So let's just end now with a nice little meditation. just to calm it down before you go to sleep, before you go to bed, before you do anything. It's always good just to take some time. So this is the type of meditation I taught myself through when I'm in a place of overwhelm. So sit comfortably. I would lie down normally as well, because that's quite nice. Stretch out, because your back might be a little bit. So just do a little bit of movement. Do a little bit of stretching, arms in the air. And if you want to, you could even do some yoga stretches, so maybe cat poses. I'm going to do cat poses in the chair. That's nice. And then this way. Oh, yeah. Take a nice big deep breath in. Close your eyes. And just focus on your breath. We'll do a couple of box breaths, because if we count in, we're going to count to 4 in, hold for 4, out for 4, and hold for 4, and repeat. And what you'll notice by focusing on counting, it doesn't leave any space in your mind, or very little space in your mind, for anything else. All right, breathe out when you're ready. Then we'll start with a breath in. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Release. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. In. Hold. Out. Hold. In. Hold. Out. Hold. And then continue doing that with your own counting. And if you notice any thoughts coming through, without judgment, just notice, a thought. There's a thought. And let's see if we can get to a space where, even if it's just for a second, there's no thoughts. Okay, I'll bring you all back into the room. How was that? Did you manage to get a second or two of quiet? Well, don't worry if you didn't. It is a cumulative practice, which means the more you do it, the better that you get at it. And practice makes progress. And I think having this daily or as often as you can meditation practice helps you to then see the good and be more calm and more present in the moment, and not to catastrophize into the future or live ruminating in the past. It's I mean, I've been doing it now for 5 years, 6 years, so it does take time, but those 5 years are going to pass anyway. And of all the things that we could practice for our own well-being and our own health, I think some sort of meditative practice has got to be one of the most powerful, but also the simplest ones. What we're asking to do is just to sit here for 5 minutes. And there's lots of different ways that we can do meditation. You can get into your body, you can do visualizations, you can listen to music, you can do something like crafting or sewing or painting. That's quite a meditative thing. Gardening can be, cooking can be. We can make our daily task, even washing up, make them mindful, make them so it becomes more absorbed and you're clearing out your mind. So you're just allowing your mind to have some space, because it gets clamoured with lots and lots of information and lots of demands on its energy. And if we can practice to give ourselves some space, then that will allow us to have the resilience, the strength, and the motivation to keep going when things don't go quite as we would have liked. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. We make it a bad thing. We can make it a good thing as well. So have a wonderful rest of the day, wherever you are in the world. Enjoy the space of your mind. Notice if you're getting an overwhelm, and if you notice that overwhelm feeling, then go through the process of just simply stopping, writing down what's going on in your head. Do a quick brainstorm, write yourself a list, and then allow your mind to be as clear as possible. And then do the first thing on the list. Do one thing that you would feel good if you got that thing done today. Brian Tracy talks about eating that frog. Do the worst thing on there, the one that you're like, oh God, I really don't want to do that. And the benefit of doing the worst thing on there is that when you got it done, your energy levels are even higher, because that's the worst thing that you could have done. So it's done. So everything else is bonus. Everything else feels fun. Right, I'm going to go. Have a beautiful rest of the Thursday. Thank you for being here. Let me know what you think, if any of those processes help for you. If you would like some guidance on developing your own self-audit and seeing, well, not developing your own self-audit, but going through the self-audit that I've done, you want some guidance on doing that, let me know. I am running a program starting in February, and that's a little bit way off, but a group one. But we can get some pre things going to get you in the right mindset to actually get this stuff done. So 2023 can be our best year ever. And let's prove that we can heal ourselves. Let's go all out and decide we're going to do it, and show ourselves and the universe and the rest of the world that actually we do have power over our own health and wellness. We really do. We've just got to decide that it's important. I will see you again next week. Thank you for joining me. If you want to connect with me, my name is Gina Dallison from Gina Dallison Coaching. You'll find me on Facebook, find me on YouTube, and you'll find me on Instagram. See you later.